Hello and welcome to another crystal confab where we casually confab about a different crystal each week. And this week we're going to be talking about the rare and magical energy of Petalite with just myself and Adam Barrelay. Adam, how are you?
I'm very good. When the Americans are away, the Australians will play.
Watch out.
Exactly. Yes. Well, we are recording this. We record a couple of weeks before we release our episodes. And today is the beginning of Mercury retrograde. We wonder whether there's been some little mishaps there, but that's all right. I'm really looking forward to having a chat to you about this amazing crystal that probably came into my realm. I think remember the good old days when it was Robert. I always get Robert Simmons and that other crazy actor Simmons confused. But
Oh,
remember the Synergy 12 crystals?
yes, absolutely, of course.
And there's this whole range of these kind of white and clear crystals that were meant to be high vibration crystals. I'm like, oh, they're interesting. So I slowly started to gather them together. And although, things like that and natural, like petalite, naturalite, scholasite, they can look, especially in a tumbled form, very, very similar. When you start working with the energy, you start to realize that they are absolutely amazing and quite different, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I find the subtleties and the differences, especially between white and colorless crystals, is all about getting to know them because transparency really does give that, oh, you can see right through it. What's even in it? But once you actually sit with it, connect with it, get to know it, you can really learn a lot and get a lot from them, I think.
Mm. Now, one thing that makes Petalite special, I believe, is there's a bit of a lithium in it, which is quite an interesting element, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. What's really interesting about petalite is it's found in what are known as lithium pegmatites. And lithium pegmatites are very popular nowadays because lithium is going into all of our long-term batteries and all of that sort of stuff. So lithium mining is at the forefront of what humans are doing at the moment. And petalite is one of those minerals that you find in lithium pegmatites, along with some of our favorites like kunzite, pink tourmaline. You find all those relatives of spodumene, the spodumene family, so kunzite, hiddenite, tryphane, all of those really. And lepidolite. I knew there was another one I was forgetting. Really heavy lithium crystals that all bring a beautiful softness. They all bring a beautiful calming energy. And that's where I think petalite for me has been really, really important is working with that obvious content of lithium is super calming and brings peace of mind. For me, it has, I'll show you a couple of really cute little pieces, clear, colorless, not very interesting looking, right? And they actually interestingly get their name from Greek, petalos, which comes from leaf, not petal. It has really interesting little veins, little white veins that go through it because it looks a little bit like a leaf. So it has that sort of softness like leaves do. They have that natural element. They are, for me, like stop, slow down, listen to what's happening around you. For me, they allow me to sort of soften my mind. Then when I soften my mind, I can soften my emotions. Then when I soften my emotions, I feel like I can soften my body. Then when I soften my body, then I can really deepen that sense of peace, deepen that sense of peace of mind. But also for me, you can then work with it in a really beautiful sense of deepening your meditation because it allows all of this softening, because it allows this calming element. I found it really helpful when I've meditated, when I've gone on meditative journeys, if that makes sense. It's allowed that like lengthening as someone who is super hyper, undiagnosed ADHD, really calms the mind not very well. I found Petalite really great to work with as a ally, support, especially when I'm proactively trying to meditate. As like a day-to-day crystal, I haven't done as much work with it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't sort of sit with it in my pocket every day and wear it every day. It's not a crystal that I've done that with. For me, it calls to me when it wants me to actually stop and slow down and listen properly and to meditate properly and to not just sit for 5 minutes, but to maybe sit for half an hour, do some like long journaling and creative writing, some emotional work where I actually look internally, or I actually have to stop and listen to what my guides are saying. I've done long guided meditations with it. A couple of yours, all those years ago when you used to come to my mum's shop and teach. All those years ago, I remember doing and working with Petalite in a couple of those, and it's for me stopping, listening, letting it come in, not forcing. We as humans are so driven to do, to run, to know everything, to um, be on this. It's like this readiness. Does that make sense? It's like you're ready for action at all times. And Petalite's like, just let it wait. Like it can literally go to the back. It can wait. Your phone can be turned off, the or taken off the hook back in the day. Like the emails don't have to be answered until Monday. Like it forces you and tells you you're allowed to have time and space. You're allowed to give yourself that time and space. And I think today, in today's modern world where we're so busy all the time, it's been so, so nice to go, guess what? They can wait. If it's really, really urgent, they'll figure it out or they'll come to your door or whatever. But like, if it's not that urgent, which it probably isn't, you can actually just let it go, come to it later. And it allows you to actually have a clearer mind when you come back to the situations. It allows you to know more about the situation because you've emptied all the stress out. And that's the whole point of like meditation, right? Is that we like calm ourselves, connect to ourselves, know the answers better, be more aligned to our own truth, our intuition, all of that sort of stuff. Like that's pretty much the point of meditating. And so Petalite for me is like that. Like it is meditation in a stone and what it does and how it helps. And even pink petalite, I don't know how much work you've done with pink petalite Adam. I love it because it has iron in it. Unlike most pink crystals, which is like manganese or lithium or something like that, the iron content brings that strength to the heart, strength to who you are, what you're doing, the ability to meditate better, the ability to connect to your emotional intuition better, if that makes sense.
I'm really interested in what you've been saying, especially about lithium. Where I guess I first got to know about lithium was with lepidolite. That's kind of one of the main constituents in that. And I've always known that lithium is used medically for people with bipolar disease, and that because of that stabilizing kind of effect that it has. And it's interesting that lepidolite does have that beautiful calming energy. Then you mentioned kunzite, and they are very, they're very calming, as is petalite as well. So I really wanted to throw back at you with the pink petalite. As you were talking, I was kind of like, oh, well, kunzite, lepidolite, they're kind of pinky purples. Is it just more lithium in the pink petalite, or is it lithium plus iron, which is like calm plus grounding, which is really interesting?
Yeah, exactly that. It's so, so fascinating that it's something different that makes it pink. You would think it is more of the same, more of what we see in other pink crystals, but I love that uniqueness of pink petalite. Like it already has the lithium, that actually is already there. It doesn't need more of that for the heart. It's bringing strength, it's bringing iron, it's bringing energization. Like iron has that physicalization energy, it brings it to the body, it helps us to do the thing, as I like to say. And so I really love that pink iron crossover. I think the only other one that you really see that in is like strawberry quartz and pink amethyst because of the hematite content. Both of those have iron and make them pink. So you don't see it a lot so much in all of your other pink stones. So I love that it has this sort of intuitive edge, but also heartfelt strengthening. It, for me, I think gives objectivity to like big emotional problems. Like it helps you to go, okay, what does my heart actually need in this situation? What's going on in the big picture? And how can I best take care of my needs and everyone else's without like it getting messy? I feel like it helps to reinforce emotional boundaries in a really beautiful way because it gives you that perspective. I think Petalite, because it gives you peace of mind, because it calms you, it gives you that ability to change the way you're looking at things, to give you that perspective shift, which I think is so, so, so important. And then the pink for the heart is helping you to shift the way you look at your world emotionally and how you're interacting with other people emotionally, if that makes sense.
Totally, totally. So when I knew that it was just going to be the two of us chatting this week, I was like, okay, instead of just going from what I know off by heart, I'm going to go back and check my teaching notes from when I used to teach about this crystal, just bring in a few more points. And when I've got Petalite, I've got an opening phrase of only good will enter herein. And I guess if I needed to help people to understand the energy of Petalite if they haven't worked with it yet, I feel like Petalite, the white Petalite, surrounds you in a bubble of white light, and then obviously we've got the pink Petalite, which surrounds you in a bubble of pink light. Now we use that visualization. It's a very kind of common new age kind of visualization of surrounding ourselves either in white, healing, protective light, or that pink, loving light. And I think this crystal is a true embodiment of that. When it comes to the clear petalite, there's many, many ways that you could use it, bringing in that white light ability. Sometimes it's a big, scary world out there, and we're worried about, our children or even our pets or different things like that. And a small piece of petalite, maybe just test it during maybe over school holidays to see how they go wearing it because it is a high vibration crystal, but it could be used as maybe a protective amulet for them to wear. Otherwise, maybe having a photo of them and a candle and a bit of white headlights when they go out into the big wide world, because you can't protect them all the time. But we can also use it to protect ourselves, and especially when you feel that whether someone is working against you, maybe at work, or a friend is maybe bitching behind your back, or that maybe even spiritually or magically there's a bit of a threat. There are some great defensive crystals, and we might lean into some of our black crystals. But I'm always kind of the thought that instead of trying to like get down to their level and fight back, why not rise above it and not allow it to kind of you know if it's not on your wavelength, then it will just bypass you in that way. And I think white petalite is really great for that. If you're someone who likes to meditate, likes to do magical workings, cast magical circles, again, white petalite encompasses in or clear petalite encompasses us. There's too many us's in there. But surrounds us in this white sphere or white bubble of light. So really, really beautiful in that protective way. So I feel that it protects you in a bubble and almost lifts you above all the troubles. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense because it actually connects to something that I completely forgot about the makeup of petalite, which is it's lithium and aluminium. And aluminium is an element that brings strength and flexibility, right? And lightness to other metals. So that totally makes sense as to how it works as a force field, as how it can be protective, as how it can really let us to take the high road, right? Instead of going down onto the level.
Really? Wow, that's cool. I didn't realize it had the aluminium content as well. The other thing you mentioned, just in passing, ADHD. Again, we see this prevalence or this increase. It's great that we have an increased awareness of mental health challenges that we all have, but we also seem to have more and more people having challenges with mental health issues. And I think, again, like you were saying, Pedalite allows you to step away from that. I look at, in some of my other teachings in health, where we talk about the amount of information that we're dealing with. A classic example, I think about my father and how much information he had about the outside world. So he would read the morning newspaper for 15 minutes or so and get a little bit of what's happening in the world. And then he'd watch the 6 o'clock news. And so he was getting these two little doses of what's happening, and you'd hear about wars and recessions and elections and all those different types of things. We are constantly getting that. We open our social media, and the first thing maybe on whatever our feed is about something that's happened elsewhere in the world that we have no control over. And we are taking so much information in. The amount of advertising and lights that are around us is kind of overwhelming. So the human brain can actually process about 120 bits of information a second. So as you're listening to one person talking, so if you're listening or watching this podcast at the moment, listening to me talk is requiring about 60 bits of information. As soon as two people start talking at the same time, you're at your max. Now think about, and I don't know how people can do this in their house, but they'll maybe be at home in the evening, they've got the TV on, but then they also are either on their social media or they've got music playing as well, and they're trying to have a conversation, and the kids are screaming, and the cat is trying to, cause havoc on the couch, and all those different things. That's an example maybe in the evening, but think about how much of that is happening as we're going about our day. Think about when we're in our car and we're listening to a podcast, but we're also trying to observe the road traffic conditions. But there's, as we drive past, there's flashing signs of, we've got a sale on or we're open and all those sort of things. We're getting so much information in. No wonder we're having challenges with our mental health. I think for anyone who is struggling with their mental health and you don't have Petalite, there are other things we can do. We want to work with health professionals, but this could be a great amulet for just helping you to be aware of how can I surround myself in that protective white or pink light and let only good enter herein? How can I reduce the amount of stimulus that's coming into me so that I can find that Zen in everyday life? And then, as we said, it's a high vibration crystal. So maybe if we remove some of that stimulus, that's when we'll be able to find that more spiritual enlightenment and discovery and time and so on. In the past, they used to say, well, they used to believe a lot more in dragons and fairies and mermaids and unicorns and all those different types of things. And I always wonder, well, maybe they're still around, but maybe we've just got too many lights on in the house and the stereo's up too loud and we don't notice them as well. So there could be some great discoveries that are available with Petalite, both pink and the clear.
I totally, totally agree with that. I absolutely think that would be awesome because we are, especially as I mentioned earlier, that boundary element, when you're able to reinforce your own boundaries, when you're able to go, that's not for me. I don't need to focus on that. I can turn that off. I don't need to absorb that. You can actually go, what's around me? What's happening in my life? What do I need to focus on? Where is the magic, right? You're
Mm.
able to, instead of focus on the triggers, focus on the glimmers, focus on the things that lift you up, focus on the things that make you feel better, focus on the things that enlighten you, make you feel happy and excited and um, motivated. And there is nothing wrong with doing the things that make you feel good and focusing on the things that make you feel good when so much of this world is bombarding you with stimulus that is so negative, that is so challenging, that is so um, complex, right? There are so many layers. It's not just that it's horrible. It's not just that it's war. It's that there are so many layers of complexity and intersectionality that, like, I'm connected in this way and they're connected in that way and we overlap, but we're separate. And like, I want to help this person because they live in that country, but I can't do anything about it. Like, the way we separate ourselves and compartmentalize ourselves and put ourselves in so many places is absurd. You and I of a certain age, we have seen the world change so much through technology and so much through how we absorb information, and in a world where all information is at our fingertips, it is up to us to make the choice to not absorb it and to
Mm.
say enough is enough,
Yeah.
to say I'm
It's
at
good
my
to be
limit.
it's good to be informed but not overwhelmed, isn't it?
It's absurd to think that we are responsible for every problem that's happening in the world. Like, it's not possible for us little people, especially. I'm sorry, but there are people with power, there are people with money, there are people that have the capabilities, and it is within their grasp. And it is us little people that are having to pay our rent, pay our bills, pay our mortgage, feed ourselves. Like, we in Perth are the most expensive place to rent in the country. It is over a third of our pay is going to just living somewhere, and then we're having to feed ourselves, and then we're having to do this, and we're having to work, we're having to, like, I'm sorry, we are allowed to say, it's not that I don't care that there are problems happening in the world. I just don't have the spoons for it. I don't have the capacity for it. It is not my responsibility. My responsibility is keeping my head focused and clear so I can do what I need to do in my life. So I can take care of my children. I can take care of my kitty cats. I can take care of my husband. I can take care of my family. I can go to work and do the job that I need to do and keep my sanity, right? All of these things are so important. And lepidolite, having that lithium, that aluminium, that ability to just calm, relax, because the more we look at our phone, the more we look at the screens, the more it sort of builds us up, and the more we're able to just put it down. The irony of us being on a vodcast, talking about this and you absorbing this is not lost on me. And I say this often in my lives. I'm like, listen, if you are too stimulated, don't watch me right now. Like, turn it off. Don't, because it's your responsibility to take care of your own health and your mental health. And if I'm not helping that, don't listen to me right now. Like, focus on the good. Go sit outside and like connect to nature and be with your pets. Like, do something that brings you back into yourself and like forget about the things that are on the screen that literally have nothing to do with you.
Yeah, very much. And this ties in perfectly to why we're talking about Petalite this week. It was a crystal I really wanted to talk about because this week we have our full moon in Gemini. Now, Gemini is the sign of mental, of thought, of intellect, of learning, and that type of thing. So this is the full moon when you kind of start to think about your mental health, what you'd like to learn, and your kind of approach to your mindset, I guess. Now, the interesting thing about petalite is there's another name for it. It's casterite, castorite. There's casterite, and then there's another crystal. So I've got my petalite or my casterite, and there's another crystal called polyacite. Now, if you know a little bit about mythology and Gemini mythology and the Gemini constellation, it is the constellation of Castor and Pollux. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about Kyle's having his mind blown at the moment. So let me talk to you a little bit about polyacite. Let me go off on a little bit of tangent. Polyacite I regard to be one of the most powerful cleansing crystals we can find on this planet. And I, in my humble opinion, have 5 levels of cleansing. So level 1 is your calcites, all your different calcites. Level 2 is your selenite. Level 3, apophyllite. Level 4, cryolite. And level 5 is polyacite. So this is one that, although I do have one ring in polyacite, I don't recommend this is something you'd wear all the time. This is something like one of those really intensive mud masks that if you wear it too long, it'll drain all the rubbish out of your face. So you use this one as a quick cleanser. And I was actually introduced to this by someone who was dealing with some pretty major health issues and would use this to kind of place it on their body for 5-10 minutes at a time to draw the shit out, basically, in that way. So this is a really great cleanser and remover of all things physical, but also emotional, mental, spiritual. So what we want to do on the full moon in Gemini is we want to think about, okay, we know that our mindset and what we think about, we bring about. It's really, really important. So we use our polyacite for a few moments, and I would probably say during the day of the full moon. What negative attitudes do I have? What negative beliefs do I have? What is stopping me from getting ahead in life? Focus on that during the day, send it into the polyacite, use that to help you get rid of all those unwanted thoughts. Then we bring in our casterite, aka our petalite, and then surround ourselves in that bubble of light. Remind ourselves that we're only going to let good enter herein and start to change our attitudes and make a promise to yourself. I'm not going to bitch about my friends anymore. I'm not going to complain anymore. I'm going to do some gratitude exercises. I'm going to say affirmations of positivity to myself to help boost my self-esteem. Maybe I'm going to make a little charm and wear it around my wrist, and every time I notice it, I'm going to give myself a compliment. Whatever that may be, how can we change our mindset? Because it is amazing. We all have experience. We've had bad times in our life, and we get it. We become a negative Nancy. Sorry if there's any Nancy's listening, but we get in that downward spiral, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and you get the worse mood. And we've also had times when it's going really, really good, and we can go upwards. And polyacite will get rid of the negative, and your petalite will help to bring you up to the goodness. And it's a great time to do this because the full moon in Gemini always occurs around the end of the year. My one hate of the end of the year is everyone going, thank God the year's over. Bring on the new year. It's going to be much better. Next year's going to be my year. And if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. And I'm going to listen to you in 12 months' time saying the same bloody thing. So this is a really powerful full moon to redirect your sails. And it starts with how you think and your attitude. So it's amazing to work on the full moon. Being an air sign, Gemini, I like to also work with incense. Sometimes what I say is get 14 sticks of incense and kind of charge them with your intention as well. and then each day until the next new moon, burn one stick, sit there, hold your petalite, surround yourself in that white light, and see those thoughts going out into the universe as well. It can be a really beautiful thing to do.
That's amazing. And I just want to hark back quickly to the pollucite thing. I didn't want to mention pollucite because I thought it was too obtuse and too rare, but pollucite is another one that you find in the lithium pegmatites. I literally have a slice of pollucite from Western Australia from our lithium pegmatites, where you find the kunzite and the that all that. And I had no idea about the pollucite casterite connection thing. Like that's totally blown my mind. That's why I was doing that when you were talking about it, because it totally blew my mind. And I have a really nice slice of pollucite that actually has a little bit of the lepidolite in it,
Wow.
just a little tinge of the purple. And so I'm going to be working with it for the Gemini full moon with my petalite. And just quickly before, if you don't have these crystals and they're hard to get, download a photo onto your phone. Find a photo of a really beautiful piece, download it, and work with that like energy of manifestation through visualization before you can get a piece, or if you can't get a piece just yet. I always recommend, because especially with rare ones, maybe it's a bit tricky to get a piece. So make sure you've got a piece that you can see.
Very much so. Another thing that petalite is really great for, I find especially the clear petalite. If you are interested in the angelic realms, because of all the things, hopefully we've kind of set the theme or the feel of the crystal as we've been chatting now. It does have that gentle yet powerful energy about it. So if you are interested in connecting with your guardian angel or a particular angel, this would be one crystal that's a really nice amulet for kind of putting you in the right space and creating the right environment for you to attract and connect with the angelic realms. Again, like I was talking about dragons and unicorns before, your angels are probably trying to talk to you, but you've bloody got the stereo up too loud and the kids are screaming too much and there's too much happening, that your angel with its soft, gentle, synchronistic voice trying to give you some clues is not getting a word in edgewise. So Headlight could help to create that environment for you or support you in creating that environment for the angels to whisper a little bit louder to you.
Absolutely agree with that. The ability to create space every day, a little bit of space every day, you open yourself up to all of that guidance that you're craving. And that's something that I've especially incorporated into my life over the past few years. Before I lived in apartments, no yard, like all of that, like now I have a house with a backyard. I make an effort every day, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon. And if you could do 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the afternoon, they recommend we should meditate for an hour a week, right? If you're doing 10 minutes in the morning, or you're doing an hour and 10 minutes a week. If you're doing a 10-minute in the morning and in the afternoon, you're doing nearly 2.5 hours of meditation every single week. All of a sudden it adds up, and all of a sudden you've created all of this time for yourself and you have so much more clarity. I think Petalite, with that boundaries, with that inner peace, it allows you to go, I don't need heaps of time. Like it's not practical to have lots and lots of time and to take an hour away all the time. But if I can give myself 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there every day, the difference will be immense. And you will see in 2 weeks' time how much change you've made in your own life. If you're able to do that from the full moon, which is mid wherever we are, to say the end of the year, you'll be able to really step into the new year with a new mindset. It's a
Yeah, very
challenge I
much.
set.
I love it. Sometimes I say it's as simple as maybe if you drink coffee in the morning, if you love a cup of tea in the afternoon. Not that I encourage it, but if you're a smoker, going outside and that interval of just sitting outside, and meditation doesn't necessarily have to be arms or legs crossed and eyes closed and that kind of thing. Coffee in one hand, crystal in the other. Sit, observe, and just allow that quietness where you're not deliberately thinking about something and allowing those thoughts to go through like clouds in the sky. Just looking around, looking at green is really, really great and great for your overall health as well. That can be, I think, quite significant and quite life changing in a way. It doesn't have to be that profound enlightenment happening in 10 minutes.
No, absolutely. Like the thing I will see a dragonfly while I'm sitting there for 10 minutes. I'll find a very particular feather. Yesterday we have the blue banded bees that are super rare and unique to Western Australia in my backyard. And it's for me, if that isn't a sign, I'm not paying attention. Like to notice
Mm.
these little things. I've had like ladybugs land on my legs. And it's like, these are the little things. It's the bugs, it's the feathers, it's the little things that your guides are trying to get you to notice, to help you to slow down, to say, yes, I'm with you. It's like you go out and you go for a walk in your backyard and it's like, oh, look at that, there's a butterfly sitting on a flower. It's like, obviously there's transformation happening. I just needed to stop and to notice that it's happening, and then if I look at my own life I can go, oh wow, I am actually transforming, things have actually been moving forward. I've just been so caught up in my life that I forgot to actually see my own progress. So maybe Petalite could actually be great for helping you to stop and actually see what you've done and how far you've come and what you've achieved.
Maybe to take, a bit more of a stock take rather than I didn't achieve all the things I wanted to. I was kind of having a bit of a bitch that I hadn't ticked all my boxes for this year. And someone pulled me up and said, but look at what you have done. And, again, it's that rush and of trying to get that mentality of doing too much type of thing of like, okay, you may not have got to the very, very finish line and ticked all the boxes, but if you tick 7 out of 10, that's still a bloody good effort in that
It's
type
a
of thing.
pass.
Yeah,
Right, that is a pass. What do they
exactly.
say? C's get degrees.
Oh, I like that.
Classic. And in today's world, I think we should not have high expectations, but we should lower our expectations a little bit of what we are actually able to do when we have so much on our plate already.
Very much so. Very much so.
Give yourself a break.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I want to take a bit of a right turn and talk about something else that I love to teach with pink petalite because that is a real beautiful, loving crystal. I kind of put it up there with my top three with kunzite. I think is amazing for attracting the right love into our lives. I think morganite is really great for kind of relationship harmony. And pink petalite, I find, is really great for kind of protecting and enshrouding a sacred relationship, especially a romantic one in that way. So this is a working that ideally, although it's a full moon in Gemini, I would probably do this more on the full moon in Libra because Libra is all about relationships. But you need to get two bits of pink petalite, ideally at the same time. So it could be tumbled stones. It could be Kyle's got a couple of pieces as well. It could be pendants or jewelry, whatever it is. And what you do is you bind them together in a ribbon. Choose a color that you find is appropriate for your relationship. It might be white, it might be pink, red, purple, whatever feels right to you. And as you do that, you're kind of visualizing the beauty of your relationship, how happy it's going, and see the two of you surrounded in that pink light. Now, keep those crystals in a sacred place, maybe on your altar for the entire lunar cycle. So we come round to the full moon in Scorpio, which is very much about passions and intimacy, and it's a sign of sex and that type of thing as well. So on that full moon, we unbind it, and then from then on, you carry one pink petalite, and the other person carries the other. Now, this is especially powerful if you have someone who works away. They travel for work. In Australia, we have a term called FIFO, which means fly in, fly out, where a partner may go work up in the mines for 2 weeks and then be back for 1 week. Different things like that. These two crystals, because they're bound together, not just physically for a month, but energetically then on, they help to bring that bond of you two close together as well. So maybe when you talk on the phone, you both hold it. When you're thinking of them or you want to feel that connection to them, you can hold it. And this is a really nice one of protecting again the good that's within that relationship, no matter how far the distance. Now, you don't have to just do it for a romantic partner. You might have a kid who's decided they're going to go study abroad, and you're very, very worried about, oh dear, are they going to be right in this big country or, far, far away from me? This could be a nice thing you could do as a little kind of amulet in that type of way to help guard them in that way. And I love pink petalite for that.
Read my mind. That literally, like, as you was talking about the romantic relationship, I was thinking, and it would be perfect for what you just said.
Yeah. I will just go off on another tangent. Another time I've actually done a bit of a working for this idea of binding two stones binding together and creating a bind is I had a friend who was South African, and he was living in Australia, and had met an Australian, and they were living together. But due to visa reasons, they weren't able to, he wasn't able to stay here, and they were struggling to get that partner visa approved and all that kind of thing. So he actually had to leave the country. So what I did is I actually went out into the bush of Australia, and we have these kind of, found a significant gravel stone. And with all my might, I smashed it in half, kind of thing. And I gave him half of that, which was a part of Australia. And I said, I need you to keep this with you. And the other piece I kept near me, or I think, or did I give it to his partner? I can't remember now. It was about 20 years ago. But it was kind of, again, creating that energetic bond between the land. And eventually they got the visa sorted, and he now lives here, type of thing. So, and that was just a gravel rock, the common rock that you find in the ground. But what was important that it was from the land, from when he wanted to be drawn back to it. And the idea was that that half of rock would want to be drawn back to its basis here in that way. So I don't know if that helps anyone, but, sometimes we're separated and we don't want to be separated, and this can be something back. I'm going to put a little clause in here. With all this talk about love and being bound to another person, the 101 spiritual law, you should never interact or never interfere with another person's free will. So if you're doing this kind of work, you're not like, oh, well, my ex has left and I want to draw them back. I'll just, put a crystal in there. Don't be doing that. Trust me, it's not going to end up well at all, type of thing. But if everyone's on board, then, whether it be pink petalite or a bit of gravel, that could be a really great thing to try.
Absolutely. Like I always like to put in for the highest and best good of myself and anyone else involved. But I would like to think I take that gravel rock further, a geode, whether it be an agate geode or a quartz geode, if you could have a pair and split that in half and have half for each partner with the petalite, because geodes help to hold love together. They help to contain. They're great for friendship. They're great for partnership. They're great for that connection between relationships between two people, whoever they are. So if you have that separation and you want to keep that connection, I would recommend either an agate or quartz geode that's been cracked in half, that you can have half each, pop a little crystal inside the geode. So it's almost like a little receptor. It's like a satellite. It's like you can call to each other, you can connect to each other, you can hold it closed over your heart so you can feel that deeper connection. There's something really beautiful about that energy of quartz and agate. They're both so energizing and nurturing, and that sort of wholeness that it provides. You are whole together, even if you're separated.
I love that. And the amplification of clear quartz is obviously going to enhance the working as well. That's brilliant, for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything with petalite, any other uses that you think? I'm a big advocate of people, when you've got your crystal, you've got to use it in some way or another, type of thing. Now, you may not be using it all the time, because when you have big crystal collections like you and I, we can't use all of them all the time. But we want to use them for specific reasons. And this one always comes out around the full moon in Gemini for me, for, working with my mental health and my attitude. Any other uses for either the clear or the pink petalite, Kyle?
I would say, especially for the clear petalite, the idea of connecting with it, for anyone that doesn't know about active meditation, connect to and do a little bit of learning about that. Active meditation is literally anything active that you can do that brings a meditative state. So it could be going to the gym, it could be mowing the lawn, it could be doing the dishes, it can be creating art, it could be writing, it could be going for a walk on the beach. Anything that is literally getting your body moving, getting you active, that helps to turn the mind off, is active meditation. If you compare that with clear petalite, going for a walk, doing these things just in your pocket with you, it will help you to actually settle into that meditation state whilst you are active. So you can receive the information, you can find the calming. Like I've told people to do this, go to the gym, because I know a lot of people, like, sitting and calming their head is not a good thing. But going to the gym, working out the energy is really calming and helps to like settle all of that energy. And they'll tell me that, like, oh, I heard this song, and the messages were so clear, but like it was halfway through through my workout that they came through, and it was because I was able to like get into that state of like just chill. just do the thing, let it go. All of a sudden, you're receiving the information, the guidance, and all of that you need. So if you can just do something active that brings meditation, because it's easier than sitting and calming the mind, pair that with it instead and work with it in that way, and just ask it when you're doing the thing to help bring through whatever is meant to come through for you during that time.
I absolutely love that. Well, hopefully, we've been able to inspire you to settle down the amount of clutter that's flowing through your life and flowing through your mind with this amazing, peaceful crystal of petalite. As we mentioned, it is a bit of a rarer crystal. So if you don't have it yet in your collection, have a bit of a look around. Always talk to your local crystal shops first because they might be able to get some in for you. But we believe that it's a really magical crystal that's worthwhile having in your collection because of how we think about the craziness of life today. So we'll be back next week to dive into another amazing gift of Mother Earth. Until then, take care and blessed be.
See you later.